The world is a complex place, and as technology advances, it only becomes more difficult to understand. Exceptional thinkers who seem to get it, Elon Musk, billionaires Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger, use different tools to the ones we were taught in school. Their secret weapons are mental models. By the end of this video, you will learn 3 of the most powerful mental models, frameworks of thinking to gain a seriously unfair advantage over your peers. Ever wondered why the apps TikTok and OnlyFans exploded in 2020? How about Uber gaining massive popularity out of nowhere and decimating the long-established taxi industry? Why did Facebook become the leading social media juggernaut with almost 3 billion monthly active users as of 2021, whilst MySpace is struggling to keep Tom online? This is because of what Malcolm Gladwell calls the tipping point.
Well, the tipping point is the word that comes from study of epidemics, is to describe that moment in the epidemic when it explodes, when the moment of critical mass. And if you look at every epidemic, there is always that moment when the curve suddenly shoots up very sharply and dramatically.
Ideas and trends spread in a similar way to viral infections. When the critical mass is achieved, the growth can tip and explosive growth can become a reality. 3 things have to happen for an idea to tip. When it comes to pandemics, it's widely known that super spreaders are behind most infections. The same thing happens with the spreading of ideas. A handful of faithful, passionate, and well-connected people can spread an idea very effectively to the masses. In the case of OnlyFans, it was the thousands of influencers who kept flaunting their earnings to impressionable young girls.
The first month I did OnlyFans, I bust down 50 bands. And I was like, yo, I'm in the money. Doing nothing but twerking, twerking naked, showing tits, and doing all that freaky shit.
I don't want to live on this planet anymore.
For something to spread, it needs to be sticky, which means memorable. Before Bitcoin started to tip, the idea of cryptocurrency and blockchain technology was circulating the web. The concept of a digital currency unregulated by a government and the secrecy of its founding father, Satoshi Nakamoto, made the idea very sticky indeed. The conditions in which an idea are born are critically important for it to tip. What might seem like a good idea, if born in the wrong circumstances, is unlikely to be successful. TikTok and OnlyFans tipped during a time of worldwide lockdowns, a time when people were desperate for cash and entertainment. Bitcoin tipped during a time when the world was connected more than ever because of social media, when ideas were able to spread like wildfire by meme lords like Elon Musk.
So
governments printing boatloads of money also poured gas on the fire. Use this mental model wisely because you will start predicting the future. I studied a mechanical engineering degree for over 4 years, simply to quit it at the end despite only having to do a few weeks of work experience.
You want to say anything to your mom or anything like that, or anyone you know?
My bad, Mom. My bad. I'll be home in a couple days.
Common sense would say that this was a stupid decision. However, when looked at through the opportunity cost framework, the decision was one of the best I have ever made. Whenever we say yes to something, whether that's agreeing to watch a movie with friends or putting our life savings into crypto, we are saying no to something else. There is an opportunity cost for our time and money. A bigger cost is set on our time because it's a resource which cannot be replenished. Despite spending years of my life studying integrals, complex numbers, and other boring stuff, I saw a bigger opportunity in pursuing entrepreneurship and fulfilling work over a 6-figure paycheck from a depressing job. I could not say yes to an engineering job and yes to becoming the best entrepreneur and coach that I could be. For most people, the opportunity cost for money is easy to grasp. Buying stock in Tesla means you have less cash to invest in stock of Amazon. Spending your money on a pair of Yeezys means you can't use that money for a new squat rack. Choices to do without time tend to elude us, something the Stoic philosopher Seneca noted some thousands of years ago. People are frugal in guarding their personal property, but as soon as it comes to squandering time, they are most wasteful of the one thing in which it is right to be stingy. A good framework for making wise decisions is using what Jeff Bezos calls a regret minimization framework.
And the framework I found, which made the decision incredibly easy, was what I called, which only a nerd would call, a regret minimization framework. So I wanted to project myself forward to age 80 and say, okay, now I'm looking back on my life. I want to have minimized the number of regrets I have. And you know, I knew that when I was 80, I was not going to regret having tried this. I was not going to regret having wanted, trying to participate in this thing called the internet that I thought was going to be a really big deal.
Always weigh out your options before making a decision. Constantly be on the lookout for decisions with a bigger upside than downside. Go to the gym over smoking a cigarette. Learn how to program instead of binging on Netflix all of the time. This mental model will open doors you didn't even know existed. One useful concept I learned in engineering was the idea of a margin of safety. When an engineer designs a bridge, he will consider the average weight that the bridge will carry. Let's say a bridge typically has 100 cars on it at any given time. The engineer would design the bridge to be able to withstand 300, or better yet, even 500 cars. This over-engineering is to ensure that the bridge doesn't collapse, crushing everybody if the limits are ever exceeded. When you see a low bridge sign, the clearance heights shown are often smaller than the actual height of the bridge. This leeway is to ensure that the idiots who want to try their luck never hit the bridge. Surprisingly, some people still do. Murphy's Law keeps on winning. Many towers in Japan are designed to withstand crazy conditions such as earthquakes and strong winds. Margin of safety doesn't apply to just engineering. The legendary billionaire investors Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger use a margin of safety when investing in undervalued stocks.
Future, and you don't need a huge margin of safety. You should have something that you always should feel you're getting a little more than what it's worth.
That margin of safety concept boils down to getting more value than you're paying. And that value can exist in a lot of different forms.
Margin of safety, that you don't drive a truck that weighs 9,900 pounds across a bridge that says limit 10,000 pounds, because you can't be that sure about it. If you see something like that, you go down a little further down the road and you find one that says limit 20,000 pounds, and that's the one you drive across.
You too can utilize a margin of safety by looking at all aspects of your life and removing the fragilities. Think of what needs to break for you to be ruined. Instead of relying on one job, you might pick up a side hustle, which you can fall back on if things go astray. During the pandemic lockdowns, many people's fragilities were exposed when their single source of income was cut and they had to rely on Big Brother. How about having 6 months of savings in an emergency fund? This is a very practical use of a margin of safety. That way, if you run out of money, you have 6 months to maneuver and find a new way to bring in income. This is one mental model you don't want to forget. The world is a complex place. To thrive in it, you need to enhance your cognitive toolbox. To the man who only has a hammer, everything he encounters begins to look like a nail. Don't be Hammer Man and upgrade your mental toolkits. Keep a checklist and always refer to it before making decisions. 3 incredibly effective models you can add to that checklist are the tipping point, which allows you to predict when an idea is about to spread like wildfire. Opportunity cost, which allows you to make better decisions by weighing out your options. margin of safety, which ensures you don't experience disasters. Do this, and I promise you will be one step closer to living and dying well. Thanks for watching the video. I appreciate you. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the channel and click the bell notifications so we can see more of each other. Until next time.